So, good morning, everyone. This is Ali Azzuddin from Fourth Generation for Education. It's our last day for this academic year about the free webinars. We started last August, and we've done more than 100 webinars. I'm so excited to have you all here. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, where you are watching from. Put all panelists and attendees, and let me welcome Karen. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning. I hope everyone's well today.
Yeah, so I can see some people joining us. They've been here in the morning session and they are back for the second session. People are watching from Jordan, people are watching from Lebanon, people are watching from India. Karen, you are currently in India. And so we are having also people from the UAE. This is very nice. Hello, Zita from Slovakia this morning. You're lucky, yeah?
I think you've seen this before.
And then we have people also watching from South Africa, and yeah, plenty of people here. So we're ready to give it a start, Karen. And let's say we met a few years ago for the first time. We kept our connection. And then when I said, okay, Karen, are you interested in joining me for this day? You said, yes, Ali, let's do it. And I can see we have between brackets with others. So we have some surprises for you. Let's give it a start.
Okie doke. Oh, hang on. There you go. So, hello everyone. My name is Karen. I was born in Western Australia. I have been in education for about 39 years, 24 of them overseas in various schools. I consider myself a kid watcher. I love to observe children. My background is early childhood education, and so, as you all know, observation is one of our major tools. I have been a teacher, a literacy coach, a team leader, a PYP workshop leader, consultant, evaluator, an assistant principal, a PYP coordinator too. Currently a primary school principal. I have been a principal for about 14 years. I like to consider myself as a change maker, someone who keeps up with education and loves to grow and develop. So the big ideas that I would like us to consider today are about creating the environment for agency, having the wherewithal. And then the last one is strong but nebulous, if I can use that dichotomy. It's about trust and wellness in regards to it, but also, you know, the what ifs or the buts that people come up with in regards to why they can or cannot do agency, whether that's student agency or teacher agency. What I should say is please just use that chat room to put thoughts and ideas down. There are times when I'm going to stop us and ask you to add to the chat, and I've asked Ali to pick out some salient points. Every time I ask you to chat, there will be I've sort of allocated about 2 or 3 minutes for us to just talk about some of the thoughts that Ali picks out. Anyway, let's get started. While there is magic to happen, there is no magic formula, no bag of tricks, template or list that can make learning happen. It is a complex journey of essential elements. Relationships and active participation are essential. And for me, this is one of the key elements of creating an agentic environment. We've got to trust, we've got to create this environment where we build relationships and we have active participation. Now, we expect that from our students or our learners, and I believe that we're all learners, so we expect it from everybody. Our beliefs shape our behaviour. When I was writing this, I couldn't decide whether our beliefs shape our behaviour or our behaviour shapes our beliefs. It's a little
a good central idea.
And really, I think it's a symbiotic relationship. So, but it's what we entrench ourselves in, and that's our philosophy of education. And from my perspective, it's about constructivism. And so I build that understanding of my philosophy, and I choose schools in regards to my philosophy, and I develop that philosophical understanding in others. Now, from that philosophy comes your pedagogy. Now, one of the things we did at our current school is we worked on that philosophy for sessions in professional learning days. You know, what is the philosophy that underpins what we do? And so therefore our pedagogy needs to reflect that. And in regards to adults, it's andragogy, if you want to use that term. But for me, it's about what we do is an expression of our philosophical belief. My philosophical belief and the philosophical belief of the schools that I choose is about constructivism, and it's about inquiry. And I believe that we all are constructing understanding and meaning, and we are all inquirers. And so if we are living the dream, if you like, we know what the role of our learners is, and whether they're big people or little people, we're all learners. One of my one of my beefs at the moment, one of my irks, if you like, is the lack of the collective we. This I mentality, look at me, I, and my belief in education is it's about we. We do this together. And our language is our subtle power. Yes, every now and again an I will come out or a me will come out, but in my head, I'm checking my behaviour. I am saying to myself, this is not about you, this is about us. It's about us as the collective. And we're mastering our craft together. It's not about one person, it's about us. So what I've done is I have asked there are 5 videos in this. So I asked a group of people to share their beliefs about teacher agency. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is, while Anna is speaking, and she talks about pedagogy and the environment, while she's speaking, if you could just write your thoughts in the chat box. And then, as I said, when we're finished, Ali will pick out some salient points and we'll try a little discussion. So meet Anna.
So what is teacher agency to me? I think it starts with our viewpoint of our profession and knowing my own beliefs, my values and beliefs around pedagogy and what I'm looking for in a school. Because if I'm going to have agency, I need to work in a school that allows me to develop and grow in the way that I want to. And that's something I'm responsible for. So I actually think teacher agency begins right back when you actually choose the school that you're going to work at. And that's part of my role in ensuring that I can use teacher agency within my job. So just as the environment that we create for our children supports or hinders their learning, I think the environment that we choose and create for ourselves in the school that we work in either promotes or takes away from teacher agency. And I think that trust is really important, trust between colleagues and senior management, trust that you're going to do your best and make the most of your opportunities. I think positive criticism is really important. It's not just a case of go and do anything. Schools have cultures, and strategic plans. And so coming back to what I said, you need to make sure that the school fits you and you fit the school, so that you can then use your teacher agency to achieve your goals within the context of that school. And then supporting each other, both again from management to staff, and from staff up to, it's a two-way street, and that colleague to colleague, we also support each other's growth. And so perhaps my most, the agentic choices I've made this year, which I feel the most positive about, and that I've been coming back to that, what you're trusted and enabled and supported to do, which I am, and I hope I support those around me in the same way. The first thing was using play worlds with our children. Again, without a supportive team and management around us, it's difficult to try out new things, but we're in the middle of it and it's growing well. Second thing, I guess, would be the Primary Literacy Festival. It's up to me to speak out and to say the things that I would like to challenge myself to do, but creating the website, being involved in the whole structure of that, the committee around that, it's up to me to do that, and I'm proud of that I did it. And I guess the third thing, like, agentic choices don't always work. Like, we chose to try and incorporate Bitmoji classrooms at the beginning of this year. This time around it didn't work. Maybe next year, if we try it again with a different group of children, it may work. But again, we're enabled to do that, and I'm grateful. So that's teacher agency for me.
Oops, sorry.
So interesting to bring these voices. And so in the chat, so let's hear from you. I can, Majid is saying also we can use choice, voice, and ownership for the teachers. Rania is highlighting the whole idea about the school environment and how much this environment is allowing us to express, again, who we are. Agency is a mindset. So these are some of the feedbacks that I'm getting in the chat, or that I got while they were watching. So another thing, so understanding and innovation, teacher is allowed to do curriculum adjustment, and these are some of the comments, Karen.
Okay, and I've written two things down because they resonate with me. One is the mindset, having the mindset. And I think for teacher agency, it's also creating a mindset for some people. You'll hear from Hafsa later, where she has been at other schools who haven't supported that. And she talks about that. And I think that's a really, really important thing for us to consider. The other one is the innovation. Now, we're very lucky because we have that word, lovely word, innovation, in our mission statement, which, you know, makes me very happy. And so it gives us permission, if you like, to move forward and to allow teachers to have agency or behave in an agentic manner. For some of them, it's just the moral support that they need. For others, they're grappling with bigger picture issues. Some of them haven't started yet, and that's okay too. It's that there's an element of respect there as well.
Good. I have more ideas in the chat. So people are referring to open channels of communication, encouraging teachers to be risk takers. We're having the trust, and the trust between the staff and the admin. The teachers, they can choose the path of their passion in their classroom. Again, the whole idea of the safe environment. We can fail, we can learn, we can grow. In some schools, we have toxic culture, and this will and not allow for teacher agency. And then let me wrap it up with the support from the management and the colleagues will allow us to innovate, question, learn, and
yeah, perfect. Look, and I suppose the you know, I work in a school that doesn't support that mindset, but go back to what can you do in order to change that mindset. And it might be leading by example, and taking the first step is the scariest part, but once you've done it, jump in with both feet. Anyway, let's continue. This one. When learners perceive their classes as places where independence as learners is valued, and they are given opportunities to exercise legitimate control over their learning, they're more disposed to engage in critical thinking. And now transpose that into an adult mindset. You're still in a school, you're a teacher. But I look at this as the independence of our learners is valued, whether that's a collective, a homeroom team, or that is an individual. It's about respecting their independence and their professionalism. And so that allows them to have opportunities to take control. It allows them to engage. And so therefore I end up, we end up as having a group of teachers who are critical thinkers. And for me, I can take that one step forward by saying those critical thinkers will start considering action research. Now, what we know educationally is it's the action research that makes change, systemises change in schools. And in our new strategic plan, again, there's mention of teachers participating with action research. And so me giving them agentic opportunities, or us giving them agentic opportunities, allows them to think more critically and therefore participate in action research, and ultimately every learner in our school benefits. This is Adrian. Adrian's going to talk about something that he and some colleagues developed called the Fluid Garden. I'll let him speak for himself.
Teacher agency. I'm looking at it in a context where we are in place and time. Firstly, I'd like to give credit to my colleagues for all the provocations in this video. Despite the pandemic, Stoneleigh International School continues to be an exciting place to work at, with a primary leadership team who honors the talents, the skills, and the passions of teachers. In our school, our mission and vision states, we are an internationally minded community of spirited learners, and we at Stoneleigh are certainly just that, spirited learners. The school leadership supports teacher agency and actively participates in professional learning, where we all become learners. And one example of this is the Fluid Garden. So what is the Fluid Garden then? At the start of the pandemic, teachers came up with a professional learning opportunity for teachers by teachers at Stoneleigh called the Fluid Garden. The Fluid Garden is an online garden where teachers gather in a social setting to find out best practices within the community. As I mentioned earlier, at Stoneleigh we have talented, skillful teachers, passionate teachers, and the garden is open for these kind of conversations, passionate conversations, disagreements, tension, grappling with ideas in a safe, supportive environment. What teachers like about this professional learning opportunity is that we can go back to the discussions at any time after reflection and add to the discussions, add a different provocation or a different perspective. The evidence from the responses shows that teachers have different perspectives, ways of approaching relevant topics that improve teaching and learning with a positive impact on student learning. Unlike agency at Stonewall has provided growth for teachers, growth for students. So what is agency to me? Being agentic as a teacher is an opportunity to learn the attributes of the learner profile, to be a risk taker, to be a reflective practitioner, to act with integrity, to be responsible for my professional growth, and to support the community in their professional growth. Agency. Teacher agency.
I've done it again. Okay, here we go again. The Fluid Garden. Adrian, your thoughts? Pop it in the chat.
While we are waiting for the reflections in that chat, I would say that we are modeling here in this webinar teacher agency by inviting all these teachers to share their perspective, Karen, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that goes back to that collective, Ali, doesn't it? You know, we are a collective of people. And I love how Adrian said that, you know, this is a place, and we use Workplace, which is a Facebook version that you can use in your workplace. And we well, I didn't, but we created the Fluid Garden on there. And as he says, it's a safe place. And you can see some of the questions we grapple with. And there's no right answer to some of those questions, but we grapple and we're happy.
Basma is highlighting the whole idea of the teachers, they are agent of change. Uma, she's saying that, oh, now it's becoming very fast. You see, sharing is the key concept in this, along with support. Kurti is talking about learners are at the heart of the learning process. Then I can see that teachers for teachers and teachers with teachers from Zita.
Nice.
Presenting freedom to learn. So these are some of the key feedback. And then let me take this one from Nettie. Having been part of the Fluid Garden, I can say I love how we are able to break out of our grade level team and listen to teachers across different grades. There is always something new we can learn and we can share.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? And that really is the whole purpose of the Fluid Garden. There's no hierarchy, there's no structure. If you've got some ideas, you put it out there. And I love whoever, sorry, I've forgotten your name, the heart of what we do. Spot on.
Shivani is taking again a word that we had in the first session, ageless and gradeless.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's this whole community interacting and working. Yeah. Yeah,
beautiful. And it's community again, isn't it? Let's be honest. All right, let's move on. So here's something, and like all good teachers, I stole some of this from Ron Rickard. So thank you, Mr. Ron. I realise I haven't put his name down the bottom. But for me, this sort of organised my thoughts. For me, there are three components that we're considering. And I purposefully used verbs because it's about the doing. So being non-directive, expecting thinking and supporting autonomy. And for me, that just makes sense. So by being non-directive, I try not to be controlling. We use a distributive leadership structure, so devolving the leadership structure as much as we can. We're in the early stages of that, very early stages. I mean, the pandemic has got in the way, but eventually trying to create a very flat structure where it's more collaborative in its book, allowing that voice, listening for that voice. I play a more formative role, or Zita and I play a more formative role. We listen and we grow and we develop and we discuss ourselves. You know, at the moment, one of our discussion points is, okay, there's a homeroom team, and in the team lead has always been a member of that core homeroom team. But who's to say that someone else couldn't be that learning? Why couldn't the visual arts teacher be the learning leader for grade 4? So they're the sorts of things that we discussions, and we create invitations and provocations for ourselves. Yes, it's about creating the right atmosphere. And as Ricard says too, you can provide the invitation or the provocation, but not everyone is going to accept that. And so encouraging just the smallest groups or parts of that growth and development is really important. Expecting thinking. And this is one area where I feel as though we've had to focus in our current situation. And we created professional reading groups, and there's more about that later in the presentation, but we created them in order to start the professional conversation and expecting thinking. So encouraging, giving them opportunities, collaboration, encouraging disagreement. Our grade 3 team are really good at this. They don't take anything personally, and they have their learners at the centre, and everything is available and an opportunity. There is accountability. Remember, we have a mission, we have a vision, we have guiding statements, we have growing other statements, like we've just written a statement on intercultural learning. So that accountability is in the infrastructure, and we have to work within that infrastructure. Supporting autonomy, standing back, well, sorry, I feel as though I have some advantage here being an early childhood teacher. You can argue that if you like. I plant seeds, and there's an example coming up. I plant seeds and I step back and I see what happens. I demand a lot. I know I do, but I also give a lot. And so I'm showing, I'm supporting, I'm modelling that role. I encourage risk-taking. You'll see some examples of that. But give me the reason why. So I've discovered this, I would like to explore that. All right, what does the research say about it? What information have you gathered? Let's talk about it. And of course, trust. This is David. David introduces himself very well, so I won't introduce him. He's talking about Discovery Week, which was something that has grown, and he will tell you the story.
Hi there. So my name's David Towse, and I'm a whole school technology coordinator. I just wanted to kind of go over one of our new initiatives and innovative projects here at Stonehill. So this is Discovery Week. Now, Discovery Week was built out of a conversation with Karen and myself, and the idea was to bring something new to Stonehill that captured the mission and the vision of who we are and what we are as a school. So for years before Discovery Week, as we now have, there was the hour of code, and that was used, I guess, as a week of coding for our learners in the primary school. And I think Karen and I, when we sat and we met, the idea of doing something new, doing something better, and being innovative in our approach, but also putting together something that worked for our learners, and something that was more than just the hour of code and the week of code, this global phenomenon, and we know what it is. So what we did, and the first thing that we did actually, was we kind of came up with these three big ideas. And we said, whatever the week is and whatever happens in that week, we wanted to build around creation, we wanted to build around design, and we wanted to build around innovation, because we wanted to capture where we were at. We had a space upstairs in the primary school, the primary maker space. And this idea in its initial iteration was an on-campus week. And we had we had a number of things going on that week. We had play going on with play and apps in the early years. We had digital art and design in sort of like building into our P3, so our sort of like end of kindergarten before we go into grade 1 there. And then we also looked at what other grades were doing and how we could incorporate what was going on already. And we really put the agency and really put the idea of building off what was going on in our primary school, like with the maker space. We had mini maker spaces in the sort of like the second grade, and we had apps being done here, and then up in the sort of like the 3rd, 4th and 5th grade classes, we had the idea of Rube Goldberg machines, and we had strategic games being built, whether it was battleships and chess or whether they were building their own. And then we had sort of like Lego and the idea of robotics in our sort of upper primary school, in our 5th grade class there. So that was really where Discovery Week started. Like I say, an initial conversation. Karen kind of says, okay, David, what can we do? What can we do differently? How can we stand out? And from there was conversations, and I had conversations with people from all over our primary school, and I kind of met with them, and then they met with each other, and then they met with their grade, and it really sort of escalated. But really, the sort of what it was built out of we need to create, we need to design, we need to innovate. This is a week of discovery. Let's see what we get. And did we get something? Oh, yes, we did. And I tell you, it really, I don't know, the global pandemic has affected everyone and anyone. And the idea of us shifting online and then doing Discovery Week, it was like a whole new iteration, like Discovery Week 2.0, Discovery Week 3.0 in certain places. So a Discovery Week this year kind of built with a statement and a sort of big idea. You can't solve a problem until you ask the right question. That's where we were at. It was all about questioning. It was all about teachers. We're not going to give you the answers. You're going to go off and you're going to discover. And again, we put it to the teachers. The teachers, they came back with their ideas. They took it to the students. They took it to the student voice. Everyone and anyone was involved in this. And we got 8 sort of areas of focus, if you like. Here we got video skills going on, coding and programming. The makerspace made a return. Lego, everyone loves Lego. Photography, what an awesome week that happened in photography. Science came into it. We talk about STEM, we talk about science and technology, the engineering part, and the maths. So much going on. We had an arts and crafts section, and we had dance. This idea of computational thinking coming into it as well. And computational thinking doesn't just have to be in a plugged environment. So that's really what I wanted to just cover. I hope I've not kind of gone over my time. I was given a couple of minutes. Any resources here? These resources, that they were built in-house. They were built by teachers, and they were developed and built upon, if you like, by our students, in terms of what they produced, and how they sort of discovered that week. More than happy if anyone watches this and thinks that they'd like to see more of this. I'm sure you can make contact. Again, I'm David at Stonehill International School. And yeah, the idea that this was built out of a small idea, but through this idea of agency and this big notion that you can kind of get done what you want to get done if you work at it and you've got the right group of people. I must say, the primary school, the staff here, the faculty have really pitched in, pulled together, and I think we all, as well as teachers, actually, we learned new skills this week. We built a website. For most, that wasn't being done as part of maybe that particular unit inquiry, but I've seen it in about 3 or 4 units of inquiry since Discovery Week. So it isn't just that we do something just for one event. We're not an events place. We've done this, and we've taken it to new lengths. We had the Primary Literacy Festival. We used this model, but we adapted it. We built something new, and we built a brand new Discovery Week, but literacy based. Fantastic. It was awesome. Yeah, so thanks for listening, and enjoy the rest of your session. All right. Bye, everyone.
So, Karen, the people are really very interested in knowing more about the Discovery Week. Maybe you can share with us, but let me give you some ideas of what is written in the chat. So it provides opportunity to innovate, question, discover, and grow further. It's an awesome way of giving charge of both the student and the teacher agency. So it's a unique week with tons of learning for students and the teachers. It was a true representation of agency, a lot of positive feedback on the idea. And so a question, maybe if you can clarify more about this week, Karen, and give some more tips or ideas.
This was a good example of me planting a seed and actually not knowing what was going to happen with that seed. I personally believe that's a huge part of my role as a primary school principal. And because I believe in agentic behaviour, planting those seeds, I get joy out of planting those seeds. And that doesn't mean I'm not the critical friend. And so look, in my first year, I watched the Week of Code. And don't get me wrong, I think coding is a great skill for children to have, but I also think there was an element of shallow in that. And so I'm an IB educator. I believe in depth. I believe in giving kids transferable skills. And I just felt as though we could do more. So that's where that idea came out of. And as David said, initially in school, it was a week of a grade-wide focus. And it was 1,000 times better than the previous year, but there was still something missing. And of course, then for those of you who don't know, in India we've been basically at home for 16 months. So we've just about completed a whole year online. So it had to look different this year, and that's why having a group of people who were prepared to make it look completely different. So they built a website. Kids could go in and choose. It was cross-graded. There were no differentiations between younger and older children. Children of different ages worked together, but they had to create their own question, and then it was about working a way out how to answer that question. It was great fun. For some, it was overwhelming. I think the group that found the whole system most overwhelming was parents because they hadn't experienced something like that before. But we learned so much from that. Will it be exactly the same next year? No, because we will take the feedback that we garnered from teachers, parents and children, and we will make it somewhat different. But that is that that feedback loop, and that allowing and trusting people to come up with something that's unique, innovative, blah, blah, blah. It was good fun.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're ready to continue, and we still have approximately 15 minutes, Karen.
All right, so we'll keep going. I love Lawrence Malaguzzi, and this is about the aquarium. You know, the aquarium that we have that allows us to look at ideas, ethics, attitudes, and culture. And that's for everyone. I love how he says this is what we're working towards. And I think if we're all on that same journey, we're in this together, we can do it. This is Hafsa, very short video. Again, she short, succinct, but some really, really poignant points.
We often talk about student agency, but I personally feel student agency is not possible unless teachers have the voice, choice, and they are able to take ownership of their learning. I still remember a few years back, I had a student who said, Miss Hafsa, you know, I love learning about dogs, but since we don't get to learn about dogs in the class, I go to library every day and research about them during the break. And that really hit me hard. I thought I failed as a teacher because I never asked my students what they wanted to learn about outside the program of inquiry. So after reflecting on this experience, I decided to start Passion Project. And since it was new to me, I shared this idea with our principal, Karen, and she was highly encouraging. I started this project with a question. I asked my students if they got an opportunity to learn something outside the program of inquiry and they were given enough time, what would they be? And I got some amazing answers. Some students wanted to learn different hairstyles, some students wanted to learn more about Lego, some wanted to do aerobics. And at the end of this project, they got to teach that skill to the other students. Since this was really new to me, I invited our principal, Karen, and our coordinator to the classroom. They interacted with the students, they gave students feedback, they interacted with me, and I received feedback. I still remember we had a lot of discussions during meetings, during our corridor walks. And at the end of it, this project turned out to be a success. Apart from this, I wanted to start a mindfulness project. Again, I was highly encouraged. And I was encouraged to share this practice with the other teachers, and now there are many teachers at Stonehill who follow this practice. I personally feel the best part of teacher agency at Stonehill is I can not only share my successes and things that went well with my administrators, my colleagues, but I can also share my failures with ease. Because I know nobody's going to judge me, and we don't consider failures as failures. We treat them as learning experiences. We all reflect on them. We see how we can grow from these experiences. We see what we can do better next time. So our students benefit and they get better learning experiences. So I get the courage to take risks, to be honest, to be an inquirer, and that makes teacher agency. And that's the best part of being a teacher.
I've done that every single time. Just quickly this time, Hafsa nails it, for me anyway.
I'm getting a lot of questions about early years, and I'm going to invite all the people to attend the afternoon session about early years. So Karen, unless you would like to comment on the early years question, I have another question for you. And the question is about how we can make balance between our learning outcomes and accomplishing our curriculum objective, and at the same time, give the student agency to direct their learning.
Yeah, well, balance has always been one of our biggest challenges in primary schools, hasn't it? Overcrowded curriculums don't help. And at the moment, what we're doing is we're curating our curriculum to make sure we don't have 300 indicators in our language curriculum. We have 40. Sorry, I'm throwing numbers around that are not true, but you know what I'm saying. We've got to create space for ourselves. I remember years ago, I was observing a group of children in my classroom, and I'm sitting in a beanbag down the back with a clipboard observing children, and my principal walked in and she said to the kids, "Where's Karen?" And they're like, "She's down the back sitting in the cushions." And I was like, "I'm working." And I think that's what we've got to do. We've got to find that balance, provide those opportunities that allow us to. Look, getting the early childhood, I can do concentric circles with a group of 3-year-olds. And if you can do concentric circles with a group of 3-year-olds, then you can certainly do it with any other age group. It's just a matter of creating those opportunities for yourself. I'll keep going.
Yes.
So this slide is all about those misconceptions and those contradictions that teachers can't do this. Well, yes, they can. It's too difficult to manage. No, it's not. If you're prepared to take that step back, you trust the people that you've hired to do the job in the way that you want them to do the job. That's an important element to you're an ongoing learner yourself, and you encourage that in others. There's no rules in teacher agency. Yes, there are. You have a mission, a vision, some guiding statements. You have other statements of learning, which are the parameters in which everything has to fit. So when you're listening to these agentic conversations, you have to actually use that mindset when you go about it. Again, embedded in the pedagogy and the philosophy of where you are. It doesn't encourage individualisation. In fact, you heard Hafsa, people started talking about her passion projects, and the next year, the whole grade did the passion projects. Her mindfulness, the whole grade by the end of the year was doing it, and now it goes beyond grades. There are always parameters, and there's always, I can do this, or we can do this, or we can find a way to do this. All right, this is the video that is quite long. Ali, how are we going for time?
So we have around like 10 minutes. So.
All right, so there's no more after this. This is a discussion. So as I said before, I wanted our teachers to think more. So what we did was created a professional reading groups. And we asked everybody in the primary team to contribute to this list as long as it was about inquiry and inquiry learning. They did. I went online and they were all available on Amazon. Remember, we've been online all year. So so Zita and I had a conversation because her belief was this was an agentic structure. My belief was this was not an agentic structure because we'd given too many parameters. Anyway, she took our conversation, she took it to her professional reading group. And this is their discussion about whether professional reading groups is agentic or not.
We had the momentum at the beginning. I felt like it was really good. And I was really good at just reading the chapters and being on top of it. And we used some of the protocols to discuss. And I don't know, I think that was our peak as a group. And for me, as a reader and as a learner and as a teacher, I think that was like a good moment for me. Like my mindset was, I was ready to implement those things that I was reading in the book.
I think, the fact that I as a homeroom teacher got to get along with, Alistair and Eduardo, and I wouldn't maybe get those opportunities I meet Jenny very often. I meet Zita, you very often, but I don't meet David, Eduardo, and Alistair that often. And to get that perspective from single subject and arts, and to just know that I'm at a place where I have the agency to implement what I want to and go ahead with an idea. Like I said, I'm going to try the whatever failure thing next year. And you guys said, okay, fine, yeah, we can all do the ideas and so I'm kind of working towards that. So just to have different perspectives and just to know that people are open to accepting ideas and they will share and contribute and that will help my learners, I think that's great.
Mm-hmm. I think the teacher agency is applying what you read, right? It's up to you. It's teacher. I think that's where it comes in. Like it's up to you whether or not to implement or apply what you've been reading about. So I think that's where it's up to you.
I thought it was a great book. Like I really did think it was a really interesting book in it. But I don't like being told what to read. It's stubborn. Like if you have to read it, it's like, well, I probably won't. Or read it in my own time. Yeah. But I agree with what Eduardo said as well. Yeah.
Also having a choice, isn't it? I was asked to create a list. It was asked to choose what we want to read, or to decide I don't like to read what someone else told me to read.
Yeah, choosing the book.
That's what I'm saying though. I did it because I didn't like the book the first 3 times I read it. And I chose the book so I could see it in a different light. But I don't know, I didn't feel there was any agency applied to that. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of saying agency is, we're going to give you 4 options, you get to choose one. That's agency.
It's one of your hated words. Like asynchronous is mine. I hate the word asynchronous. I don't even know what it means.
So now it makes me, so what's your definition of agency, teacher's agency?
Just going to ask that, yeah.
I think it would be if I'm given the space and freedom to apply certain strategies that I want to, even though they're new or they're not heard of before. And if I'm supportive and I'm taking a risk. Like when I say, Zita, I think I want to try this in my class and I'm not sure I've done this before. And if you tell me, Hafsa, go ahead, maybe we can plan this further. I have some ideas. And if you support me, that according to me is teacher agency.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question to that, and this is where I object to the term.
First, you have to answer the question that Zita, what is agency?
I'm going to ask you a follow-up question because this is where my objection comes in. Why do you need somebody's permission for you to take your own action?
No, we don't need some. I'll tell you where it's coming from, David. I don't know the schools that you worked at, but I'll tell you the schools that I worked at earlier. I did not have the freedom to apply what I wanted to. Like if I came up with an idea, I was always say, oh no, this doesn't work out this way, You are in this school setup and you follow what we say. And that really, really upset me. But now I come here and I don't have to I'm not saying I have to go and take Zita's permission, but I just know that I will be given the space to try what I want to with my learners because I understand my learners best. I think this, the confidence that the team has, or the confidence the coordinator, the principal has on you and say, oh, you go ahead with what you want to do because you understand your learners. I didn't have that in my earlier schools and I struggled with that. And I was always like, why can't they let me do what I want to? It may be helpful. So that was missing. And that's why I feel this is agency.
Mm-hmm. That's open agency, the freedom to do. The freedom that
Which I don't think that there's like freedom to do whatever you want to do. I don't feel like that's kind of.
I hope it's more support, isn't it? Actually, you are supported if you want to do it. Like, if you say, going to this failure week, like we read, I would love to try this with a student. And it's not just, you might have the freedom to do it, but it's not the freedom that you have. You always talked about how supposed to support you have. And if it doesn't work, it's still okay, and it will be.
Exactly.
I think that for me, go Hafsa.
Yeah, sorry. No, go ahead.
Okay, no, I'm just trying to think of agency and like what it really means. Like I'm not sure what it means exactly, but I do think that the space has something to do with it, and the support has something to do with it.
Yes.
But I think when I think about agency, I think it's like a self-driven thing, you know, like I have the tools to use the tools that I have, you know, which is sometimes what we don't necessarily have. Like I can read a book, but maybe I'm not really sure about how to implement something, you know. And then there's this part of agency of me trying to figure out how am I going to take this to the classroom. But yeah, definitely the space and the support have to be there for it to work.
And if I could just read from I hope that an Edutopia.
Yes.
Okay, it says this report is moving from compliance to agency, what teachers need to make professional learning. So the report defines teacher agency as the capacity of teachers to act purposefully and constructively to direct their professional growth and contribute to the growth of their colleagues. So just sharing ideas, I think we're already like contributing to each other's growth, right? So I think this
But it's like a personal thing. No, isn't it like a personal journey, or I don't know, like a self-driven motivation kind of thing, or not?
Yes, I agree.
So therefore then, if I see that there's a meeting about teacher agency and I don't turn up, that's agency, right?
Yeah.
I get choice, and no one can say you have to go. So also,
I think it's also the purposeful. I think what you said, you know, I think it's making choices, but its choices are purposeful to reach the goal. So like
agency, there's also a sense of responsibility that comes in. You can't have agency if you're not responsible. You can't just say, I'm choosing this, and then when you're held accountable, you have no answer to that. So responsibility goes hand in hand with that.
And that makes me think of like how we should as learners, you know, like try to find the good in everything, you know, like make everything a learning opportunity. And that's something that we can share with the kids as well. You know, when there's a topic that you might not like, you know, especially when you're a kid and you have to learn about many things that you might not like just try to find something in that topic that you can cling to. And then I guess that's also part of agency, you know, like having the skill to focus on something where you can take something out of it, even if I don't know, a big percentage of it, maybe it's not your cup of tea.
I think it's what you just said. I mean, it's this goal, isn't it? You having a common goal, you have a purpose. Like you might have you want children to learn this or gain these skills, but they don't have to do it in this one way that you say. You can give them different, and they choose the way or route they take. So, as I understand, goal for the professional reading groups was making teachers read professional literature, so they take something and implement it in their practice. That was the goal. But within that, like I think everybody from us took something different for our practice. Now, okay, how did this group to help you to develop your teacher's agency?
Is it recording?
You missed the first part, David, on this.
That's the story of my life.
There you go. David, what about teacher's agency and professional reading groups?
Oh, wow. Where did that come from? That's a bit of a curveball.
What? So what's your reflection on this? Do professional reading groups promote teacher's agency, and how?
My initial answer is no.
Oh. Why?
Because I'm David and I want to be different. Oh.
What
time is it?
Counting down now to the end of the school year.
I feel as if it's going to rain.
So I think this is modeling again.
Yep.
Good practices, Karen. So we have around 1 minute left. So
and we're really more or less done. Look, I put that at the end because I thought it was a no holds barred conversation about agency. And I think what it basically says is there's still lots of tension in the argument, whether we should, could, would be able to do it. But I think that's what makes it fun. That's one of the things that we love about working in our field, isn't it? Because we work with people and those people are all very different. But we have many things in common, and the most important one is we want our learners to learn. And I think from my perspective, I want everybody to learn. And it's a journey.
Yeah, so, thank you. So I would like to thank you, Karen. I would like to thank all the teachers who shared their perspective. And let me quickly share with all our attendees, what do we have next for today? So we still have few sessions. After the break, a 15-minute break, we will be talking about developing relationships in your classroom to increase agency. After the lunch break, I will be speaking about agency in Arabic, and we will try to define this concept. And I have also a guest speaker with me. Nancy, a psychologist, will be talking about Albert Bandura work. For all the early years educator, please join us in the afternoon session. It will be 3:15 Dubai time. If you are an art teacher or you are a specialist, join Mark. And then at the end of the day, we will be wrapping it up with Lou. So thanks everyone. Thanks Karen again. And we hope that you enjoyed the session. So I can see brilliant session. Thank you. We're waiting and voila.
Thank you very much, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, Ali.
Bye-bye.